Views expressed are not endorsed by the United States Department of Defense or its components.
I present to you the most feared aircraft in the world today, your United States Air Force's F-22 Raptor.
Welcome back to the Flyover Podcast as part of USAFA Aviation. Today is episode 26, and we are privileged to have Captain Samuel "RaZZ" Larson with us today. He is the commander of the F-22 demonstration team. The mission of the demo team is to showcase the unmatched maneuverability of the Air Force's fifth-generation air dominance stealth fighter, highlighting the history of the Air Force's service through heritage formation flights and interacting with local communities through outreach events.
Captain Larson is an experienced fighter combat pilot with more than 750 hours flying the F-22A Raptor. Captain Larson leads the 14-member F-22 demonstration team, oversees maintenance actions performed on the most advanced fighter jets ever built, and showcases the F-22 Raptor for more than 10 million spectators around the world each year. He is an operational F-22 pilot assigned to the 1st Operations Group within the 1st Fighter Wing.
Sir, welcome to the show. Season 2 off to the start with a bang. Demo team on the podcast. It's great to have you, and we're super excited to get into it.
Really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So first thing, kind of talk about really the focus today is like your time as the demo pilot of the F-22 demo team. So what does the demo team bring to the Air Force?
So we're the only F-22 demonstration team in the world, and so we're out there to share what this aircraft can do with the American public and on the international stage. So we use it primarily in the United States. We're out there to share our story, get people fired up, hopefully get folks interested in taking up careers in the United States Air Force, and then on the international stage to showcase what the United States Air Force is capable of. So we're really the only representation of Raptor Nation that's out on the road because typically in a squadron, whether you're a maintainer or flying, you're not going to be doing stuff in the public eye. A lot of it is shrouded in secrecy of what we're doing. And so this is really the only division of the Raptor Nation that's out there sharing what we do for the pilots and maintainers and all the folks who represent Raptor Nation.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of being in that public eye, what's it like flying the demo?
It's awesome. I love flying the demo. It's a rush. We get to fly that aircraft low to the ground, do a lot of maneuvers that you typically would not do low to the ground in a fighter aircraft. So that's a blast. For me and for a lot of folks on our team, it's a special purpose because we got inspired to do this job, going to air shows at a young age, inspired to come to places like the United States Air Force Academy because we saw air shows. And so we're there to pay forward that inspiration to others. And we found that aspect of the job to be extremely rewarding. And this has probably been 2 of the most rewarding years of my life being on this team.
Yeah, so when you talk about like flying the demo, what's your favorite personal maneuver that you fly?
That's tough. They're all a blast. I like the dedication pass a lot, flying it, and also the meaning behind it. It's dedicated to all those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. And then maneuvers we do like the power loop, pedal turn, tail slide, these post-stall maneuvers that no other combat-ready fighter in the world is doing. Those are wild from the cockpit, and it's pretty cool to fly, and it's cool that the F-22 is so intuitive to fly. Those maneuvers are not difficult to fly. Any combat-ready Raptor pilot could do those maneuvers, so it's a lot of fun.
And is that just because of the integration from the plane to the pilot that makes the maneuver so easy to fly?
It is. It is just a tremendous flight control system. So the thrust vectoring in the jet's fully integrated. All the flight control surfaces, they're massive. If you ever get out to the jet, you'll see just how big that thing is. It's a 62,000-pound fighter with a lot of surface area. For me as the pilot, I've got stick, throttle, pedals, and it flies like a stick and rudder airplane, even though I'm not mechanically moving anything. So everything I do as an input goes right to the computer, and then it figures out what surfaces to move, thrust vectoring, to produce the effect that I'm inputting. So it makes it very intuitive, and with 70,000 pounds of thrust, it's just a phenomenal fighter.
Yeah, so talking a little bit more about the demo, I've seen like on Instagram, like when you guys like basically flip over yourself and pop the flares.
Yep.
So is that like something new? Because I didn't used to see that, or like what was the inspiration behind that, or what's the reason why that's now in the demo?
Yeah, so we added the flares last year for the first time, which was my first year on the team. The whole idea there was we're going to use those flares anyways. So for overwater shows or certain military base shows, we can dispense flares. And for the demo perspective, it really gives the jet something to move in relation to, so that you can get a better appreciation for what the jet's doing up there. So we think it adds a lot. And again, our whole goal out there is to get people fired up about flying airplanes or fixing airplanes. And so we think the flares add to the overall show.
Yeah, for sure. And so if you were to compare, the F-22 demo team to, say, the F-35 demo team, the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels, F-16 demo team, all of them, what do you bring to the table that they don't, or why do you think you're better in a sense if you think the F-22 demo team is the best out there?
Yeah, we are definitely biased. I really appreciate all the other jet demos. We still love watching them. We do a lot of shows with those folks. Each demo brings something different. So we love watching things like the A-10 demo, which is in its final season. It's just so different from what we're doing in our demonstration. But the fact that we do so many post-stall maneuvers, the fact that we have so much thrust, we're just going to do maneuvers that they simply can't do during our demo. And we also bring the noise. That 70,000 pounds of thrust also outputs a lot of noise, which we like for air shows. But yeah, we love watching their shows as well. So it's just different, and we love working with those teams.
Yeah, and you keep talking about how capable the F-22 is and showcasing those capabilities. So you're in the cockpit. I mean, a lot of times when you make the pass, you're in full afterburner. Mm-hmm. Is it how does it feel like? Is it just a straight workout for you in the cockpit? How many G's are you pulling, and what does it feel like? It
is definitely a workout. Pretty much tensing up the entire time in the AGSM. Most I've pulled in the demo is 9.9 Gs. On average, I'd say 9.5 to 9.7 in every demo, which again, the other jets aren't getting to in terms of G-force. So the thing can turn, and it can put the hurt on you in a pretty quick manner. So it's definitely just a 20-minute adrenaline rush flying the demo. And yeah, it's definitely a workout. I usually land from a demo having to change the sweat-soaked flight suit pretty quickly. But I love it. It's a rush. It's everything I hoped it'd be and more. So
9.9 is absurd.
That is crazy.
I got an F-16 ride this summer, and I barely did 9. I was almost black. It was bad.
It's something you get used to. And for all the prospective pilots out there, your first time in a fighter or in a high-performance aircraft, especially when you're not at the controls, you're probably going to get sick. And that's just something you have to get over. And it's usually a few rides in pilot training where it's very uncomfortable. And it's an uncomfortable environment, wearing all the gear, being in an environment you haven't been in. And then the G-forces, same concept there. It's something you get used to. You practice, you train, you work out for it. And now it's just second nature. And so, again, it's kind of sucks at first. Is really the what I was getting to there. But push through being outside your comfort zone. And it quickly becomes comfortable and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so kind of on that same training vein, what does the pipeline look like from flying the operational Air Force, flying the F-22 operationally, more in stealth settings, all of that, to being able to fly the demonstration in front of thousands of people?
Yep. So it's a 21 flight upgrade. You have to be an instructor pilot to apply to be the demo pilot on the F-22 side. So that's usually about at least 4 to 5 years of flying the jet operationally to get through all the upgrades to be an instructor pilot. And then from there, your standard kind of Air Force interviews and paperwork, all that to apply. Once you get selected, the previous demo pilot trains the incoming demo pilot. And you basically go through altitude step downs where you start off 5,000 foot floor, then 2,000, then step down in 500 foot increments till you're at the surface. Practice off-station demos, and then 3 certifications, so wing commander, numbered Air Force commander, and then ultimately Commander Air Combat Command certifies you on that 21st flight, and then you're off to the races. Once you're certified on the demo, you go get certified on Heritage Flight as well. So we got to Davis-Monthan, and it's basically a 4-day course flying with all kinds of warbirds in 2 ships, 3 ships, 4 ships, and that's another awesome part of the job, flying with all different kinds of warbirds. Probably my favorite aspect of the flying is flying with those warbirds. And same thing, COMAC and the FAA certifies you to go out in the air show season and fly the demos and the heritage flights.
So when you talk about the training pipeline, so say you were going to go to NIF for some reason.
Yep.
So basically not able to fly for anyone who doesn't know what that means. What would happen to the team, or would they kind of push some waivers through so you could still fly that airship since you're the only one qualified to do that?
Yeah, ultimately we'd have to cancel. For 2 years, you're the one person flying the demo, so we don't have a backup. And then when I'm done with these 2 years, someone else will have it for the next 2 years. So try not to get hurt, try not to get sick. I've come close at one show of being not able to fly, but was able to get it done, go to urgent care and get what I needed. But so far, knock on wood, we've been good and never canceled a demo.
Awesome. And do you fly with or travel with a flight surgeon, or do you typically use like the bases that you're around?
Yeah, we do not. We travel with a really small group, so we'll take 10 folks in total to every show. We're primarily carrying a maintenance crew of crew chiefs, avionics specialists, and senior enlisted folks who have a maintenance background who kind of help direct our maintenance action. So no flight surgeon, so we're borrowing if we need anything.
Yeah. And then one more thing. So like what you're saying how the demo and as the demo pilot, you're able to fly those maneuvers significantly lower than you would be able to operationally. What is that difference? Like how low compared to before you're certified?
So we'll go down to 200 feet in the demo. Typically, once you're low at qualified in the jet, you're going down to 500 feet on low levels, but there's a lot of rules there as far as air speeds, what you're doing in terms of angle of attack of the jet. That all goes out the window for the demo. So again, doing post-stall maneuvers as low as 1,500 feet from the ground. It's just something to get used to because it's a new sight picture when you flip the jet and you just have a face full of earth looking through the HUD. And so it's just something to get used to again of being that low to the ground, and you quickly get a real appreciation for this jet and how quickly it recovers, especially at low altitude and that denser air with 70,000 pounds of thrust. Our whole demo is designed that we can lose an engine at any point during any maneuver, even when we're going zero airspeed, and recover on the one remaining engine. So at no point in an emergency would I be reaching for the ejection handle. I would fly the jet out and land it.
Awesome. And when you talked about that transition period, right, the outgoing demo pilot is basically training with the incoming demo pilot. So how was that with you and Cabo? Mm-hmm. And like, is there kind of a special bond, I guess, now between you two being like the only two people to be qualified at a given time?
Absolutely. And I had a great upgrade with Cabo. He's a phenomenal instructor, and there's a lot to learn, not only flying, but all the other aspects of this job. And really only the folks who have done this job as the demo pilot understand all the nuances and what it's like to go spend about 300 days on the road each year, taking these jets all over. So I had a great upgrade with Cabo. He's a phenomenal human being, and I'm hoping again to pay that forward to the next Raptor demo pilot to set them up for success. And yeah, unique aspects to this job and a lot of stuff you have to learn. You're the only officer and pilot on the team full time, and so you're working primarily with enlisted maintainers. We have 14 total on the team. And so it's a different dynamic from being in a squadron where you're always around other pilots and you interact with maintenance, but not on the level that we do on the demo team. And then we borrow jets. We don't have any F-22s that we have officially for the demo team. So right now we have Alaska jets here in Colorado, but we'll borrow from anyone. And so we're getting different jets each week, which presents a lot of challenges. So there's a lot to learn in coming to this job about how to handle the logistics and all the things that go along with that.
And so how heavy maintenance-wise is the demonstration on the jet itself? So like your maintainers are pretty well-versed in what the demonstration does to it, but when you kind of borrow this jet, are you kind of like trashing it a little bit?
Yeah, actually we're not. So in a perfect world, we should go out, fly the demo, and our guys do a standard debrief of the jet, and it should be pretty quick, where they've got everything because they're the folks we have for maintainers on this team are the best from their respective career fields, so they take care of things very quickly. Because we borrow jets, we typically have surprises. So all the jets fly the same. The demo doesn't put any undue stress or brakes on the jet compared to normal operational flying, but inheriting different jets with different things that have been ongoing issues with those aircraft, we get surprises on the road, which is really where those guys shine. And so I've seen those folks work some miracles and get things done, even when we're in a pinch. And happy to say, again, we've never canceled a demo because of maintenance action needed on the jet.
Yeah, so you mentioned, you don't have any jets as part of your team, you just borrow. What's the reason for that? Like logistically, just not enough F-22s in the force, or what's the reason behind that?
Yeah, that's really been, since the inception of the team, that's been the reasoning. We just don't have enough Raptors to commit 2 to 3 jets full time to demo. And just with the maintenance cycles that the jets go through, the powers that be have always decided that you're going to borrow. And so we'll see if that stays the case, but for the time being, yeah, we'll be borrowing.
Is that similar to the other single aircraft demo teams?
It's not actually. So they all have really designated jets. It's different for each team. Some of them are long-term leases. Some of them are full-time demo. But we're the only team that's borrowing week in and week out.
And so logistically, that kind of sounds like pretty difficult to deal with I need to grab this jet, but that kind of halts operations from there. So when you're on season, what does like an average week look like for you?
So if we're borrowing, say, out of Langley Air Force Base, which is where we're stationed, we should be getting the jets on Thursday morning. Again, we find out really which jets we're getting Wednesday night or Thursday morning, take them to the show, and then we have outreach events on Thursday of a show, local community stuff, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're flying demos and then doing all the other events associated with that, and then jets home on Monday. That's the typical flow, but because we borrow so much, that changes quite a bit. So, for instance, this past 2 weeks, we flew commercial to, did a show, got back to Langley with the jets, immediately got on a commercial flight to Alaska so that we had the crew rest to be able to fly the jets out of Alaska, flew them to Canada for a show, did the show there, then flew the jets here for the Colorado Springs show and for the USAFA demo. And then we're working, trying to get tankers to get the jets home on Monday back to Alaska. So a lot of coordinating tankers there, coordinating where we're going to have personnel and equipment for the jets' arrivals and departures. So it's a lot of moving parts. And again, I'm very thankful we have a great team that's working that and making it happen.
Yeah, so you mentioned the USAFA demo. So you guys were out here 2 years ago, my freshman year. That was a blast to see that jet. And obviously you guys are out here again. Yep. How were the logistics behind that? Did somebody did General Moga reach out to the team? Or that's kind of the rumor on the street of how it kind of started to happen. It was kind of his partying grace to the cadet wing as it was his outgoing. And obviously we had the, A-10 and C-17 last year?
We did. And
then obviously we got you guys back this year. So how did that work behind the scenes?
So it was a bit organic. We do owe a lot to General Moga, and so our wing commander back at Langley, he was a USAFA grad as well. We had been talking about it ever since I got on the team that we'd like to go out to USAFA in some capacity, initially thinking of flyby, and then we reached out here with the OSS, the airfield folks, to talk about how we could get a TFR, where we could do a demo. And so we planned really all that in-house. And it sounded like we were going to hit a lot of basically stops where we're not going to be able to do it, and General Moga was there to help us to kind of push it along because he was all for it. And so we got it done. We built that with the OSS, built the parade field as kind of our sterile aerobatic box, and getting a TFR here and everything. And so last time the Raptor was here was the first demo really over the cadet area, and that opened the door for the other teams and for us to come back this year. But absolutely, General Moga helped us get that done. So
God bless that man.
So for the viewers who don't understand, could you kind of explain who General Moga is? We kind of all revere him here.
To the demo team, to the F-22, and obviously to the Capt.
Yeah, absolutely, General Moga was the first Raptor demo pilot back in the day, so 2007, 2008. So he really had to figure a lot of the stuff out that we use now, being the first guy through the chute of how the demo's flown, how it changes, say, here in Colorado at a high density altitude, all those things. And then, being back here last year, getting to talk with him, he met with the whole team, shared some stories from his time. It's been awesome getting to interact with him. And, he's awesome.
There was a picture that kind of went over viral in the cadet wing. It was him on the top of the comms tower, standing like this, and looking up, and it's just you passing by right in front of him.
Oh,
and
it's
nice. It's like there was some funny proud father moment. Are you not entertained to the cadet wing? But
it meant a lot to me because when General Moga was Major Moga flying the Raptor demo, I was a youngster, saw him at air shows flying the F-22, my first time seeing the Raptor, and I actually reached out to him and asked for advice about how to do what he's doing. And he responded, and he gave me a really well thought out response and recommended that I go to the Air Force Academy, gave me all kinds of information and really mentorship for me to make the decision to apply to come to USAFA. And so I owe a lot to him. And so, again, having him here and flying the demo meant a lot to me because, he helped me along the way.
That's awesome. Amazing. So I was watching the kind of like the site survey on, what would that have been, Tuesday? Yep. Yeah, Tuesday. And I noticed when you drop down, kind of going right over the box and over to Stillman, does the cadet area being at 7,258 feet above sea level, and then the buildings on top of that with Stillman being at a lower elevation, does that pose any challenges when you're like getting that TFR?
It does. It's definitely compared to other show sites where we typically fly, and we do a lot of stuff, near big cities where there's a lot of obstructions. But this one's unique for sure because of the changing terrain, all of that, and then. For the demo, for example, I'm launching out of Peterson and have to figure out, okay, I want to make a zeroized altimeter. That's what we normally do. We set a ground level to base all our maneuver altitudes off of. So just doing the math between Colorado Springs to the parade field, making sure that I have basically a good line in the sky of what the ground is here. And then again, it's a lot of changing terrain here. So it makes it interesting for sure. And then you throw on the about 10,000 foot density altitude. That causes us to change our maneuver parameters quite a bit as well.
Yeah. And so how do those maneuver parameters change? Like, do you turn a little bit tighter, less tight? So how does that kind of affect it?
We basically have to account for degraded jet performance at this high DA. And so rules of thumb, again, that we've learned over the years, starting off with Max Moga, of how do we pad our maneuvers, and then for these maneuvers where we're doing post-stall, kind of extreme angle of attack maneuvering, we still have to be able to recover on that one engine like we talked about earlier, which causes us to raise the altitudes and not fly the jet quite as hard, if you will. So our rule is every 2,000 feet above a 3,000 foot density altitude, I'm adding 500 feet and 10 knots to the maneuver apexes. So just got to basically replan the demo. Our altimeter won't roll far enough to set a zeroized floor here. So now we're changing all our numbers as well based off of, I used a 7,000 foot floor here. So it changes it quite a bit at this density altitude.
Awesome. So talking about like your day in the life, I'll say, or day in the week. Yeah. During air show season, you guys are really, really busy. So what does that week look like, and how does that have an impact on your families?
It's different for each person. I will say as a team, we all recognize that we're just a moment in time on this team, and it's going to go really quickly. 2 years is a short stint. So we try to maximize our footprint everywhere we go, which means we do as much outreach events that we can. If we're at a show, we're there for the morning brief, usually around 7:30. Then we're briefing the demo, flying the demo in Heritage Flight, but then all the dead space there, we're out interacting with the crowd. And so we'll stay till well after the show has ended, just trying to meet with folks, give tours of the aircraft, where I have a Raptor demo tent where we're meeting with people. So I would say when we're at the show, we're there all day, basically from sunup to sundown. And then on the other days, we're out in the community trying to do outreach events. And then from there, it's a pretty strenuous travel schedule, whether it's myself and our safety observer moving the jets around. Our team usually travels commercial, and they have about 35 Pelican cases of equipment and our Raptor demo swag that they're lugging around airports all around the country. We all know airline travel throws curveballs at you quite a bit, so we're working through that. So it's strenuous in the in-betweens getting all that travel done. And then when we're not at a show, there's a lot of logistics planning and things going on behind the scenes when we're back at Langley that we have to knock out for planning and debriefing previous shows. So it's pretty much nonstop. And I would say for the majority of the team, when we're in show season, it's really no days off. But again, we've got the right people, and they all believe in this mission. And so we get it done, and I'm very, very proud to work with them.
Yeah, and could you? I know you briefly mentioned it, but specifically, how many people do you have on the team? Obviously, you're the only pilot, but then obviously you mentioned maintainers. We got PA over here and stuff like that. So how does that all break out?
Yep. So 14-member team. After me, there's senior enlisted leader, our superintendent, and then we have a maintenance lead, a team chief. Again, both guys have been on the Raptor for over 10 years working it. They know the ins and outs of that jet. And then we've got crew chiefs and avionics specialists. We'll take 2 of each on the road with us. We've got 1 aircrew flight equipment who will come on the road with us, looking after all the gear, and then public affairs. So that's kind of the breakout. Again, we've got the best from each respective career field. And because we're such a small team, everyone knows each other's jobs. And so we can swap any person out for another job, and they have to be basically multi-capable, learning the other jobs because stuff happens on the road, and we need them to know well beyond the scope of what their normal job would be in a unit back at Langley or Alaska, wherever it may be.
Yeah. So kind of now switching topics to kind of the future of the Air Force, where the F-22 is going. So how do you see the F-22 working with other aircraft in a future conflict with a possible near peer?
F-22 would be on the leading edge for air dominance. And so we're really designed to be out there working hand in hand with, say, the F-35 on the leading edge of any fight, where the F-35 is going to be primarily focused on that air-to-ground sea-deed mission. We're going to be focused on the air picture. And that's really how the jets were designed, to complement each other. They work together extremely well. And we're basically kicking down the door or being the first layer of defense with other assets behind us that are not stealthy 5th-generation aircraft. So the jet works extremely well with really any platform. We do a lot of escort missions, 4th-gen bombers, 5th-gen being B-2 type stealth bomber escort. So we practice a lot of different scenarios where we're the primary air-to-air player, clearing out that air picture. We also have the air-to-ground capability, and that's been used extensively in the past. So it's really whatever we get tasked for. But yeah, Raptor's on the leading edge.
And what challenges would you foresee if we had to fight across a large body of water?
So there's a lot, just getting the aircraft and the personnel, the munitions, the things we need in place. And then, yeah, the tyranny of distance is a real problem. And there's different ways we're working to solve that. And there's going to be a lot of upgrades to the F-22 that are going to work to address that issue. But yeah, it's definitely a problem, and something we're practicing all over in exercises with F-22 units.
And so you kind of talked to the interactions between the F-22 and the F-35. And so given the halted production of the F-22 and the increased production of the F-35, how do you kind of see that in a relationship changing if it does? That's
a great question. We typically go out and practice like we're going to play, which is we're going to have our 4-ship F-22s, or however many we have, and then we're going to have a much larger F-35 force with us. And if we need to, because we have limited Raptors, we're going to practice to be able to utilize weapons from other aircraft using the situational awareness we have in the F-22 and the F-35 for that matter. But how do we target, shoot, take care of everything we need to in the air-to-air fight while not inhibiting the air-to-ground mission as well. So we practice that. We always typically go out and train like we're limited in numbers with F-22s, which is what we expect just based on how many we have.
Yeah. And so kind of bringing it back a little bit more to your background, your education, how you got to being an F-22 demo team, the F-22 demo team commander. So you were a WAB at USAFA. So for everybody out there, the Wings of Blue, which is the parachute team here for the Air Force and for the Air Force Academy. Me and Alex here, we're on the soaring IP side of things. So maybe there's a little beef between the IPs and the
other
WABs.
Side of the airfield.
Other side of the airfield, yeah. But as a former WAB, like what impact do you think the airmanship opportunities at USAFA has had on your career so far?
That's a great question. I feel like I owe a lot to my experience here at USAFA, and particularly on the airmanship side. I think when I talk to folks at air shows who are asking about coming to USAFA, that's one of the things that I always say sets this place apart, is some of those opportunities, whether you do it full-time, on a team, or if you just go through the basic programs, it definitely helps you. And things I learned on those programs, the teamwork side of it, being a part of a team, learned a lot of basically the foundational and intangible skill sets that I see prevalent in fighter squadrons or in Air Force units, regardless of what platform you go on to. So a lot of the teamwork, and then just the basic airmanship sense and being able to step up and perform when asked. I really learned a lot in my years at USAFA down at the airfield. Being in an environment where you're outside your comfort zone and having to perform, that's what you do flying, and that's what you're going to encounter in pilot training. That's what you're going to encounter when you go onto your follow-on aircraft. Absolutely. So I learned a lot of lessons, I would say, both at USAFA and down at the airfield that helped me along the way.
Yeah, and when you were a member of the Wings of Blue, were you, I don't know if there was tracks like there are now, were you like a demo or the comp team, or like where did you fall on the team?
I was demo, demo for life,
yeah, I guess this fits.
Yeah. But I was here actually during sequestration, so we weren't really doing much demo, if you will.
What does that mean? I guess I'm a little confused.
Sequestration was 2013, kind of into 2014 timeframe. I graduated in 15, but for a time the airfield was essentially shut down. So we were jumping, civilian to get our numbers up, and then we weren't doing really much for demo, just based on the government sequestration. It started to pick up a little bit as I was getting in my senior year, so we got to do a couple, but nothing like they're doing nowadays. So I was a demo dog, but didn't get to do a lot of demos. Yeah.
I guess I have one more thing to pray for at night. The airfield does not get shut down.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a possibility. That's actually wild.
Yeah, it was a short stint, so it wasn't too terrible. But again, I had an absolute blast on that team, and just getting to instruct. Again, I learned a lot instructing, just as you guys are learning, teaching gliders, teaching jump, whatever that may be. A lot of skill sets you can build right now that are going to pay dividends for you when now you're flying aircraft and instructing an aircraft.
So after the academy, you went to NJEPT, which for the viewers out there is Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training. And what was NJEPT like, and what was it like working with students from other nations, and kind of what did you learn from them?
Yeah, I think it's a great program. And I had a blast. We had a lot of Germans in my class. It was just cool getting that perspective. And you also have the instructors from other nations. And so it's different. You get a lot of different perspectives, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just a neat opportunity, and we're all there with the same goal. And for anyone who's interested, I thought it was a great program. I would highly recommend it.
So you mentioned earlier about how General Moga was kind of like, you were basically like wanted to be him.
Yeah.
And I guess you kind of are him, or at least you're the demo pilot right now. And so did you ever see yourself like, obviously you wanted to be that, but did you ever see yourself specifically, like, did you always like dream of being the F-22 demo pilot, or was it more just like, oh, I want to fly in the Air Force, I want to fly fighters, and oh, by the way, the F-22 would be cool?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to fly fighters. There's so many different paths you can take, and it's hard to figure out which one's right for you. You really got to follow your heart on that one and seek out mentorship and advice. I always tell people I wouldn't listen so much to folks who are talking about a community they've never been a part of. I would go to the source and learn as much as you can about respective communities. But for my path, I knew I wanted to fly jets someday. Yeah, maybe demo. My background, I grew up in Iowa, had a hometown air show. That's what got me inspired. Became an air show fanatic, loved airplanes. And the mentorship and advice I got meeting pilots, maintainers from demo teams is really what illuminated the path for me. So I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to be a part of demo, again, to pay that forward. I thought it'd be just a good opportunity for me because of the profound impact it had on my life. So I didn't know what capacity that was going to be. And then sure enough, right after I graduated USAFA, I saw another F-22 demo at an air show. And that was right before I started pilot training. I was like, okay, absolutely, that's what I want to fly after seeing the demo. And so that was my goal all through pilot training every day, starting off pilot training, just envisioning on drop night seeing an F-22 on the screen. And then coming back to the present and letting that dream influence work ethic and decision making, all that, which is what I encourage others to do as well who have a dream. And then, once I got into the Raptor community, I always wanted to be an instructor pilot. I knew that would at least open the door to apply for demo. I had no expectation that it was going to actually pan out and work out. but was very fortunate it did.
And so you kind of like have dropped little tidbits of advice for people who want to do it. Just kind of poking the bear here, where if someone were to want to be you, what path do you recommend? How would you talk to them? What advice would you give them?
That's a great question. So I would say what we look for on the demo team and in fighter squadrons is work ethic, attitude, humility. Those are really our core tenets. And if you can start applying that, any phase of life you're in, those principles. The humility piece, sometimes folks don't expect that for fighter pilots. I'd say it's one of the most important. The ability to take feedback, internalize it, and apply it to the future. So for folks who are coming up through the ranks, want to do this, I would say get outside your comfort zone, push yourself, whatever that may be. At USAFA, some examples of that for me were being a part of the jump team, boxing here. I loved doing boxing here. That was outside of my comfort zone, and some people shy away from those things because, again, it's uncomfortable. The more you can push yourself to do those, the more you're going to grow as a person here. And specifically to USAFA folks, just being here for 4 years, counting down the days to graduation. If you do that, you're going to look back and you're going to think about, what could have been. I would say maximize your time here. Don't count down the days to graduation, but try to, as cliche as it sounds, try to maximize your days here because everything you do here, the work you put in at USAFA is going to set you up for your future. And you want to look back at your 4 years here and look back on it as time well spent, really molding yourself and the person you're going to be as you go out into the Air Force. So that's the USAFA specific, but the universal principles there really are push yourself outside of the comfort zone and then don't be afraid to fail. You're going to encounter a lot of failure, and being an Air Force pilot, all through pilot training, all through your upgrades, a lot of things designed to make you fail. You will absolutely fail. So you got to be able to pick yourself back up in that failure, move on, and again, internalize the feedback, be humble, and apply that to the future. And then live with passion. Go after your dream, and that's probably the advice I'd give. Yep,
it's great advice.
Advice from RaZZ, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
So it is tradition here on the podcast to ask the same question at the end of every episode, and I think I know your answer. But the question is what is the best aircraft in the Air Force's inventory today, and why?
Yeah, very biased here. F-22. Yeah,
shocker.
And I will say I love airplanes. I love fighter jets. So I look at other aircraft. I'm like, oh, I'd be so happy flying those. But there's no other aircraft I'd rather fly in a demo or take into combat than the F-22. And I think it's just all the combination of capabilities the F-22 brings to a fight that the F-22 ushered into air combat, being the first 5th gen fighter. The situational awareness you have, the stealth, super cruise, super maneuverability, and then just from a pilot perspective, it's just a joy to fly. It is an absolute joy to fly. Mach 2, 60,000 feet. It gets up there, no problem. Turn and burn down low. It might be the last great gunfighting aircraft that's ever built by the Air Force. And for the folks who are aspiring to fly right now, it's going to be around for a while. The F-22 will. And we're getting a lot of new toys. So a lot of new upgrades to that jet so that when you guys are flying them, it's going to have some pretty awesome capabilities. So I would say F-22s, but if folks who are listening want to fly something else, there are a lot of amazing aircraft out there. And I think you'd enjoy flying just about anything. So, but yeah, mine is F-22.
As expected. Well, That's interesting to hear. I've actually been concerned because, I would fly an F-22 if they gave it to me, right? But
if they threw me the keys.
If they threw me the keys.
Yeah.
I've always been concerned that they were going to decommission them. So it's really good to hear that they're putting the upgrades in because that would be a blast to fly. So
yeah, they're going to be around for a while, definitely for the foreseeable future. And a lot of the technologies that we're going to put on the 6th generation fighter, we're going to test and implement on the F-22 to kind of bridge that gap. So it'll be around for a while, and you guys might have the opportunity to fly F-22s, F-35s, and then go fly a 6th gen fighter, which would be pretty sweet.
That would be pretty sweet. That's awesome.
Lots of stuff to look forward to.
Yes, sir. Yes. Well, just want to thank you again so much for coming on. I know y'all are super busy, peak air show season. So yeah, this has been the Flyover Podcast. Once again, thanks to Captain Samuel RaZZ Larson, the demo pilot of the F-22 demonstration team, for coming on the Flyover Podcast today. As a reminder, right, this is kind of the beginning of season 2, but all of our full-length episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and now also on YouTube. And then all of our clips are on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. With that, we will catch you all in the next one.